Hey friends, welcome back to the Guitar Max channel, and I have a new guitar brand to check out today. This is a brand that I've never heard of before, but they've popped up recently on Amazon, and I've had some requests from people to check this out, so here we go. Now I'm going to unbox this, take a look at it, give you my first impressions, and then we're going to plug it in and see how it plays and sounds and all of that stuff. But before we go anywhere with this, the first thing we have to address is the name of this brand. The guitar brand is called Boya&Ziqi. Yes, Boya&Ziqi, just like that lovable pair of Disney characters from that movie that was never released. Okay, so that is the actual name, Boya&Ziqi. And one thing that's interesting about it is the company seems to at least be aware that it is a very strange name, because if you go to the Amazon listing, they have a whole section on there on what the name means and where it came from. And I'm going to read you that, but after we look at the guitar first. Okay, so let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and open this. And as I'm opening the box, I want to remind you guys that if you enjoy videos like this, checking out cool new affordable guitars, and also staying up on all the latest news in the guitar universe, and you have not already subscribed for some reason, please consider subscribing right now. And let's go ahead and take a look at this, open it up. So first things first, I like the packaging. You can see there, it's got a solid styrofoam insert inside the box and styrofoam on the top of the box. So pretty well protected for sure. It's always nice when you're getting mail order guitars and stuff. So let's go ahead and look at this. Now in here we've got one of these standard basic guitar cables, and it's got the Allen wrench for what I assume is the truss rod adjustments. We'll put that over there. And now let's look at the guitar. And this is an SG style guitar. So it's definitely going to be in that style with a nice blue finish on it. Although this one looks to be a little bit different from some of the ones that some of the other companies are making these days. So let's go ahead and pull this out. Very nice looking guitar, just to start with. Now I'll give you some close-ups here as I'm talking about this, but this guitar goes for a bit over $300. It's like $339 right in there, and there are a lot of companies that are making nice guitars right in that price range, between $300 and $400, and that includes the shipping and everything. So definitely this company is going to have some competition, but at first glance, this looks really good. And we've got a nice kind of a blue burst flame maple top. You can see the center seam right in there. Not a graphic, but a wood veneer. But it definitely looks really, really good. I like these clear knobs down here, so you can see even more of the finish. It's a standard control layout, 2-volume, 2-tone, 3-way toggle switch, and yeah, these are push-pull pots, which will be really cool when we get into the demo. Now, one thing about this that I should point out is these are stainless steel frets, but these are not the rounded ball end stainless steel frets like some of the other companies are making. And they actually have a whole section on the listing about this, why they think this style, kind of a more traditional fret end, they're saying is better than the rounded ball end frets. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So spec-wise, aside from the stainless steel frets, it's pretty straightforward. It's a mahogany body, mahogany neck, a set neck, of course. It's got kind of a nice transparent blue on the back there. Rosewood fretboard, 22 frets. And yeah, pretty standard, tuners and that kind of stuff here. Now, one thing that's interesting about the body here, if you look at some of the SG style guitars from like Harley Benton or Firefly, or even ones from like ESP, right? What they do to avoid any sort of trademark issues with Gibson is they offset the horns, and then sometimes this part of the body here kind of pooches out this way, right? So it's an asymmetrical body, the lower part of the body. What's interesting here is that on this guitar, this part is still symmetrical, and they still have the offset horns. And of course the headstock is different. So I'm assuming that that's enough of a difference to avoid any kind of trademark issues. But it's kind of cool that it's a little bit more of a traditional body shape than some of the other companies are making. Okay, so that's kind of my first impressions. Beautiful looking guitar. Hopefully it sounds as good as it looks, and we'll get in the demo in just a second. But Boya&Ziqi, what is with that name? So this, I've got this printed off here. This is the thing that they have on the Amazon listing talking about the name and what it means. And I want to read this to you, okay? So let's let's check this out. Boya&Ziqi. I bet you're wondering, why are our brands called this? Who are they? Yes, our brand name comes from a story that is very famous in China. During the spring and autumn period in China, 2,000 years ago, there was a musician who was good at playing the guqin named Yu Boya. One day, on a boat trip, Boya played a tune he had composed before he became famous, but unfortunately, no one could understand it. I have that problem all the time. No one understands my music, right? But anyway, no one could understand it, which expressed the lofty mountains and flowing water. And we have mountains and flowing water on the headstock there. At that moment, a woodcutter passing by on the shore listened to it and said exactly what the tune meant. Boya said excitedly, "You're the one who truly understands my music." And this woodcutter was Ziqi. Boya&Ziqi, there we go. They talked about music very happily and agreed to visit Ziqi again when Boya returned from his trip. When Boya came back, he had already passed away due to illness. Boya was so sad that he broke his guqin in front of Ziqi's tomb. After that, he never played the guqin again. The end. So that story got way darker than I was expecting. Borderline depressing, really. Well, okay, I think that's enough of that. Well, perhaps the guitar will have a happier sound than the story did. So let's go ahead and plug this in, and I'm going to use my Boss IR200 amp and speaker simulator for the demo. I've really been enjoying that lately. And we'll go through a variety of, high gain, medium gain, clean stuff, and that kind of stuff. And I'll go through the coil splitting, which we can do with these push-pull pots. And after the demo, I'll talk a little bit about the playability. All right, let's go ahead and plug this in and listen to how it sounds. Okay guys, that sounded pretty darn good. Now I want to talk about a few things, other specs of this guitar, and also the sound and playability. Couple of things that I should point out. Hopefully you noticed during the demo that this guitar has push-pull pots. So they're humbuckers, but you can split the coils and get some nice single coil sounds out of this guitar. One thing I noticed is that when I did that test in the demo, I still had a little bit of gain on the amplifier. And even in single coil mode, these were very quiet pickups. By quiet, I mean in terms of noise, not output, not low output, right? So they didn't, none of the settings really humbucker or single coil. I wasn't hearing any buzzing or excess noise or anything like that. So they seem to have done a really good job with the wiring. Now, the other thing I noticed, which I have to tell you about because it just doesn't come out in the video, is the tuners and the nut are very, very smooth. And a lot of the time, budget guitars have a problem with that. This guitar costs a little over $300. It's like $339, right around there. You can get a blue one. I think they also have a red version, right? And a lot of times, affordable guitars, one of the sort of sticky problems that they have, and this is not like a deal breaker, but sometimes the nut, right, the slots will drag, or the strings will drag in the nut slots, and you'll be tuning and the tuners don't move smoothly, and you tune and you get that tink tink noise, right? None of that is going on with this guitar. And even though these are, these seem to be generic tuners of some kind, they picked good ones because these are very, very smooth tuners. Now, as far as the playability of the guitar, overall, I'm really pretty pleased with it. I think the action could be a little bit lower, but again, I did zero setup work to this guitar, and so lowering the action would just be a matter of lowering the bridge and maybe giving it a corresponding truss rod adjustment, although truss rod looks pretty darn good already. But this is the kind of thing where you take the guitar out of the box, you plug it in, you play it. Maybe a week later, as it adjusts to your local climate, you'll have to make a truss rod adjustment. But right now, it's really pretty good. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the frets. These are stainless steel frets, but unlike some of the other new companies, they are not using these rounded ball-in frets. And if you go to the website listing, they even have a whole section on there of why they are not using the rounded ball-in frets and why they went with this fret-in style instead. Now, to be totally honest, I don't know if it makes that much of a difference. Some people honestly, they just kind of like the look of the rounded ball-in frets, and these very obviously are more traditional fret-ins, but they've done a good job of not having any rough edges or fret sprout or anything like that. So the fretwork is good, and to me that's really what makes the difference. Is not so much what style of fret-ins they have, but just whether or not the work was done well either way, and they've done a good job on this guitar. So honestly, yes, the name is a bit crazy, but they have made a good guitar, and yeah, right in that $300 plus range there, price range there. So obviously they have a lot of competition in that price range. There are a lot of guitars, a lot of the like Latitude and Eert, that kind of stuff. They are also right in that price range, like $300 to $400. So I think if you're looking for a guitar where you want some of the more modern features like the stainless steel frets and the coil splitting on a humbucker guitar like this, and you want something that, looks nice and is just generally well made but not too expensive, and also something that's going to look a little bit more traditional, right, in terms of the body style, a little bit more similar to a classic SG, then this is really a good choice and one to check out. So I think the next big question is, what other models will we be seeing from Boya&Ziqi, and how will they compare to this one? Okay guys, so as always, I want to hear from the audience. Does anybody out there own one of these guitars? And if so, what has your experience been with it? Let us all know down in the comments section below. Guys, as usual, I'm going to have links for everything I was checking out in this video. I have a link for the guitar, as well as the IR200, that Boss amp simulator I was using for the demo. All that stuff will be down in the video description below. Thanks a ton for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you soon.